I was the kid who didn't have access to the stuff that I potentially would have liked to have been doing. It doesn't matter if your family can't afford stage school, or if they can't afford theatre classes or drama classes or equipment or that posh camera or whatever, because nowadays, thankfully, we can do so much with just a phone and a pen and a pad or your notes on your iPhone. There's nothing stopping you.
You don't consider yourself educated? Where does this gift come from for language and the spoken word?
I found it difficult to conform to mainstream education at the time. I struggled with all sorts of manner of things. But not only that, was I actually had a dream and I had an ambition to basically become and do what I'm doing now. There's a huge attack on the family unit.
You're absolutely correct. And right? It's engineered.
So, what is our responsibility as a dad, as a man, as a family man? Like, what's our responsibilities in 2026 to protect our family? It's natural to be selfish to survive, right? That's why I need God to help me be more selfless. I try one day at a time to be a more selfless person, right? Which is difficult, and that's why I need God's help in that process and be conscious of that it's not just all about me, right? And then being a father really helps you with that. Our heritage is us, and it's really important to know yourself and where you come from and your roots, and eventually it all flows into one massive sea. And that's why we should treat each other like brothers, you know what I mean?
You're not a drop in the ocean, you're the ocean in a drop.
Working class English people can be creative, talented, have something to say, have a voice that sometimes is different to the narrative, that the picture that sometimes gets painted in the media. Whatever truth you want to find out is possible, mate. I don't think there's nothing that's not being said or that has been said. I think it's all there to find somewhere on the internet. What I think is important is what you do with that truth, how you process it, and how it affects you.
Yeah, so what you do with it,
and how that affects your family and your community and society.
Hi, today I'm joined by someone whose work sits right at the intersection of music and entertainment, identity and society. My guest is Sonny Green, an Essex-born musician, actor, poet and entrepreneur who has built a career on telling uncomfortable truths with absolute clarity and zero compromise. His spoken word piece, What England Means to Me, reached a huge mainstream audience after being featured prominently by the BBC during its 2026 New Year programming. And most recently, Sonny took the nation by storm with a rendition of the piece as a main act on Britain's Got Talent, smashing his way into the semi-finals of 2026, whilst the book itself is currently charting in the UK, proof that there is still a deep public appetite for art that questions identity, nationhood and belonging. Sonny's work asks similar questions this podcast exists to explore. Who controls the narrative? What does truth look like beneath the surface? And how do we stay authentic in a society that increasingly rewards conformity? So today isn't just a conversation about music or creativity. It's about reality, power, culture, and the stories we tell ourselves about the world that we live in. Sonny, welcome to Society 2.0.
No worries, bro.
I imagine since appearing on Britain's Got Talent, it's been a hell of a roller coaster ride for you up to this point. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got involved, and we'll start there if that's okay?
Yeah, so Britain's Got Talent's just been amazing. And I'm still, because it's quite fresh, I'm still kind of like riding the wave, really.
Yeah, I suppose you haven't processed it all
yet. Nah. Even like you saying to me just then, how is it? I'm like, my mind had to tell me that I've been on there and done that. Just like, oh yeah, that stuff, yeah.
Biggest show on British TV, right?
Yeah, man. It's pretty big, pretty epic. I think a lot of people knew me, but now it's like I'm going and walking about and people that wouldn't usually say hello are saying hello. So I think it's just crossing over to that other kind of audience.
So you felt an expansion in people's awareness of who you are. People are recognising
like
you in the street.
In my area as well, like, do you know what I mean? In Southend. So it's just like your general people.
And are you already clear on what those live shows are going to look like? Or do you know what you're going to be doing?
I've got a rough idea.
Oh, it's very exciting. Yeah.
But I just want to keep fine-tuning it, keep writing it. I'm getting inspiration from all the different conversations I'm having with people and different feedback. And we live in a world that's constantly changing and stuff's constantly happening and there's constantly stuff to write about and speak about. So
that's a really good point because your book itself was self-published, right?
Yeah.
I really admire, and it's kind of what this whole podcast is about, anyone kind of taking the initiative to go out and speak about things which matter to them, which are real to them. And independently moving forward with that. Has the Britain's Got Talent performance had much of an effect on how the book has done? Is there more people knowing about it?
Yeah, so when I released it, it done quite well. And then, as all things, it's kind of fizzled off. So everyone who wanted to buy it, bought it.
Always the way.
Always the way. And then it kind of like drops a little bit and you just get like little trickles. But obviously since going on that show, we shot straight up in third in the poetry charts.
Wow.
So that was brilliant. And it's doing really well. I said the other day on a thing, I'm competing with the educated and the overrated.
Yes, I did like that post.
That is, that's what I'm doing. And
you don't consider yourself educated? Where does this gift come from for language and the spoken word? Because you
I got kicked out of school in year 9 or 10. I think about year 10.
No way. What for? You seem like such a well-behaved gentleman.
Yeah. So just I found it difficult to conform to mainstream education at the time, and the stuff that was going on in my personal life and in my area and in my community, I just was struggling with, basically. And I struggled with all sorts of manner of things. But not only that, was I actually had a dream and I had an ambition to basically become and do what I'm doing now.
Which is inspiring as hell for anyone who's followed you on that journey.
I was like, why am I sitting in, science or whatever class it might have been? Like, there was, funnily enough, a teacher often comments on my Facebook saying, you used to sit in my science class writing rap lyrics.
Wow.
Yeah. And she goes, and I'll never forget it, because I was always, I used to go into the classes and I'll come to your class and attend and all that and tick that box. But if you want me to behave, you're going to have to let me do.
So you always knew what
I want to do.
do.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, Sonny, cool. As long as you don't come and disrupt everyone and you just get your head down. And that was really flexible, actually. So I've got to take my hat off to some of the teachers in my
That is incredible to hear. And actually a really good point, if you don't mind, to take it back to where you were from and your formative experiences, because I find it incredibly interesting that you were not so much of a conformist in school. So where did this development of this talent that you have for the spoken word, the English language, and your incredible lyrics come from? It clearly wasn't through learning about Shakespeare in English.
Yeah, well, so if you talk to my mum, if my mum was sat here right now, she would tell you that I always wanted to entertain. So I watched Drop Dead Fred before I should have watched Drop Dead Fred.
And
I was about 6, crawling under people's legs, going cobwebs. Like, before I even understand what that even meant.
Yeah.
But I watched it with my family, and someone would have laughed, and I was like, "What? That's funny. That made you laugh. That made you smile."
Gotcha.
So from that young kid, I wanted to just make people laugh and make them smile and change their demeanor, and I'm like, what? You can do that with words, you can do that with how you act and what you say. That's amazing, man. And when you're a little kid, you can do it even more. And like, my son does it to me now. My sons, but especially like my youngest son, he comes out with the most crazy stuff, and he changes the room. He's 4 years old and he's changing the atmosphere of rooms already.
Yeah, the energy
in the atmosphere. And it's like, that's spiritual, man. That's deep.
He's his father's son,
It goes beyond the physical, right? So, and once I got a gist of that and started to learn how to kind of do that, I never stopped doing it, and I loved it. And then throughout my teenage years, I probably done that in a negative way sometimes. And I was like, wow, you can actually go into a room and you can change the mood in a way which is like not so nice, right? Or in a darker way sometimes, which is bad. But it's something that, because I was so angry at points in my life, I just thought, you know what, I'm going to walk into this classroom, I'm going to freak everyone out, and they're not going to know what to do. Yeah, and like, I can do it and not even say it. So I used to, mate, the world is your stage. That is Shakespeare, right?
I love that. I was just going to say,
so I'd go in, I just used to see it like being on set every day going into school, and those that went to school with me will confirm that. And and that's basically what it was. So
that's amazing to me, because your work, particularly around your spoken word, rapping, the stuff from Britain's Got Talent, from your new self-published book, it blows my mind, because it sounds like someone who's had a natural affinity and gift for the language and the not so much the performance and wanting to affect people in that way. So it's fascinating to me. been a fan for a long time, to learn that actually the bug for performance came first.
Straight away, man. And I think it could have been from wanting to escape reality, maybe because reality is boring, or maybe because growing up, I see a lot of kind of pain and misery. You know, my mum and dad split up quite young, so our family was affected. Yeah. So they was both kind of always upset sometimes. Not always, don't get me wrong, there was a lot of joy, but I realised that there was a battle between my mum and dad about me.
Wow.
So that I was, and this is on reflection, but I'm thinking, and I don't even know.
Yeah, of course, you're not doing it then.
I'm not even know if it's true or not, right? Yeah. But because there was always a battle over Sonny's coming with me, Sonny's here, Sonny's there.
Wow.
One of my earliest memories is just off the Kersal, we used to live on Stanley Road, is my mum coming to my dad's house and basically going like, I'm taking Sonny back now. And then my dad being like, no, you're not, kind of thing. That was I was like 3 or 4 or something like that.
That must have been very confusing at that age.
I think I was oblivious to quite a lot of it, but I just remember that there was a time when my mum wasn't happy and my dad wasn't happy, and I was the problem. So
I'm thinking about it, one of your freestyles deals with this. You have a lyric, family torn, broken home.
Grew up quick, now I'm taking in the crow. Yeah, that was 15 when I was writing that stuff.
Wow.
So, and it was true, yeah. And it's true, like, you know, and now, obviously, I've tried to, I'm breaking that cycle with my family, keeping my family unit together.
I was just going to ask, they say that parents don't mean to, but they make it's on us to break that trauma cycle. When we become those parents.
And some of us do and some of us don't. And the battle, the real battle that goes on, I think, and we're in Society 2.0 here, and I know we're going to delve into all sorts of stuff, but there's a huge attack on the family unit.
You're absolutely correct. And it's engineered.
So, and it's also like, it's so strange because it's almost like we as even humans, like our flesh almost wants to break away, and like when we're not operating in our best selves, we kind of destroy our own family unit, yeah? And the world does kind of throw a bit of into that as well, like, you know, as it does.
Absolutely.
Tries to like do its thing. So I'm all about now is protecting the family unit, and as a man, as a working class geezer, what can we do for my community? Like, what can we do better as men to make sure that our families are, what is our responsibility as a dad, as a man, as a family man? Like, what's our responsibilities in 2026 to protect our family? And absolutely. What does that look like? Does that look like, you know, marrying your wife? Like, you know what I mean? For me, that's what it looked like. It's sometimes just going back to kind of what we've forgotten and what we lost. And
they're really good points, especially considering the times we're in now. Mm-hmm. I'm not a religious man, but I absolutely believe we are in a spiritual war.
Yeah, of course.
And everything.
Yeah, I always say I'm not religious anyway. Like, I'm not religious. I'm a Christian, but I wouldn't say I'm overly religious.
Yes, okay.
You know, because religion is what kind of the Lord fought against, in a sense. He said to the Sadducees and Pharisees, you're being overly religious. Like, what do you mean? He actually, when he healed the man with the mat, the paralyzed man with the mat, and he said, get up, pick up your mat and walk. He done that on the Sabbath, right? And it was a massive problem. So the Sadducees and the Pharisees at the time said, how dare you do that on the day of the Sabbath?
Wow.
You know, how dare, you're supposed to be not doing anything, right? You're supposed to be resting.
Day of rest. Yeah.
He done it on purpose. And he said to him, but what's more important? I'm paraphrasing here. Yeah, you can go into the scripture, but basically in Sonny's, like, you know, my paraphrased words,
Sonny's modern Bible.
He basically said to him, what's more important? That this man gets healed, the geezer ain't walked around for a God knows ever how long, that he gets healed and he's walking and he's free, or that he's still paralyzed and we should do that another day? What's more important to you? That it's done now, or that we wait and let him be in his pain and his misery? And that's the difference between religion and relationship and setting people free, you know?
You're a man after my own heart. I was asked once what I thought the difference between religion and spirituality was, and I said, I didn't make this up, but I believe it. Religion is for people that fear hell, and spirituality is for people that have been there and returned.
That's deep.
And you make a good point. I mean, Jesus threw the money men out of the temple, right?
Yeah, man.
But
righteous anger, and again, it was more like because again, it was like this is supposed to be a place. This house is a place that should be respected, and you're calling this like God's house, yeah. So, but you've turned it into a boot sale.
But
you're calling it God's house. The boot sale's the boot sale. It's not saying that the market's wrong. The boot sale's the boot sale.
It's a different thing.
Don't do the boot sale in a church, and then say that you're, they're separate, mate. If I want to go down to the market, I can go down to the market. If this is the only place, don't forget it's the Roman Empire, man. It's Babylonia. It's exactly what we got now.
I was just going to say,
it's orgies and it's this and it's that and it's all the mad stuff. It's worshipping all this other stuff.
Yeah,
and it's like, so if there's one house that can be just sanctified and peaceful and holy and protected, it's this one. But now you're bringing a boot sale in here and bartering and
that's
trading.
A really good
and
point.
What's going on here? That's what that is.
That's a chilling idea you've just raised for me, because I've recently forced myself to read the Talmud, and I was politely shocked and
interesting.
Sickened. Yeah.
Well, it's an interesting.
I've read the Torah.
Yeah.
That was interesting. I found the Talmud sickening. But speaking about a lot of those formative years and what's made you,
I've never read it, but I've seen certain things. But to be fair, for me, obviously,
blow your mind.
But obviously for me as a Christian, and even like the Old Testament, that's why again the Lord come to with the new covenant, with the New Testament, to really set the record straight. There's a lot of scripture. Like, look, that's why people always go, "Oh, you're a Christian, so you believe in an eye for an eye." I'm like, well, no, Jesus actually rewrote all of that.
Oh, he did.
He literally said, "You've heard that it's an eye for an eye,"
right.
But I tell you,
he referenced it.
But I tell you to turn the other cheek.
Absolutely.
So he corrected all of that.
But it's often quoted as a contradiction.
But it's always
isn't it?
misquoted.
That's right.
It's like that's what the devil does. Is he comes and he twists and he manipulates, and then he tells you, "Oh yeah, you're a Christian, you believe it's an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth." It's like, well, actually, no, we don't believe that. That Jesus told us something different. So you're just twisting it, and you've probably not really had a look at that. You've been taught something that's not correct, which is okay, because that's what happens.
Lord, forgive them.
Yeah,
they know not what
forgive
they
them,
do,
forgive
right?
them. Yeah, which is tough.
Yeah, of course.
Because, and again, like, a lot of the people and a lot of the madness and stuff that goes on in the world, they truly don't actually know what they're doing. A lot of people haven't really grasped what's actually going on, so they end up doing stuff that they just do it by default. They're just falling into their fleshly desires. They haven't got a concept of
carnal.
They haven't got carnal. They're just carnal, man. And people are people, and animal are animals, right? And that's what it is.
But we have the Spirit of the Lord in us.
Hallelujah. Praise the Lord. And that's what it is.
Well,
so
I have a lot that I wanted to build up to this point.
Let's do it. Let's go. Run through them if you want.
We're discussing something which is blowing my mind. You mentioned your Old Testament. Are you familiar with the Book of Enoch, Sonny?
I am, yeah.
You are?
I am familiar with it.
How do you reconcile that?
So obviously, like I had this, so when I become a Christian quite early on.
When was that?
Like 2020, I don't know. So I started working. So before I become a Christian, I got into recovery. So I'm 8 years drug and alcohol free, right? So not one sip, one puff, one sip, nothing, yeah?
So how old, forgive me, for our audience, how old were you 8 years ago?
I was 23. I'm 31.
You're 31 now, gotcha.
Yeah. So I was 23 and my dad died in 2017 and my son was born in 2018 and my dad passed due to drug and alcohol abuse, right?
Wow, okay.
So that's when I was like, I'm breaking the cycle. How do I do that? I've got to stop doing what I'm doing, okay?
It's off to you. Did you want to at that point?
No. No. I'm a rock star, baby.
Yeah,
I don't want to stop doing
nothing,
do you know what I mean? I'm all about me. I'm a selfish person by default.
The artistic temperament.
I think we all are.
We can be.
Yeah, I think it's natural to be selfish to survive, right?
This is true.
And that's why I need God to help me be more selfless and to stick about and to, be of service and help people, because I want to jump on stage and be all about me, yeah?
Yeah.
So, and I want to entertain, I want to make people happy, of course.
That is the artistic temperament.
Of course. So it's not all self-serving, but at the end of the day, if I'm sweet, whatever, yeah? But now I try one day at a time to be a more selfless person, right? Which is difficult, and that's why I need God's help in that process and be conscious of that it's not just all about me, right? And then being a father really helps you with that, because suddenly I actually do care about my sons more than I care about myself to a certain extent. Yeah.
Something more
so that's why
than you.
so many people change when they have kids.
Yeah, I've
because
heard this.
So many people just naturally change when they have kids because they're like, oh, wow, this is the first time ever that I've actually cared about you, something else other than them. Absolutely. And like when my first son was born, I was like, whoa, like it was like, wow, I need to do whatever it takes to keep this thing alive that I'm responsible for. Like,
was that the moment that you held him after birth, or your first, or did that come gradually?
Even like during the whole thing, but like, you know, when he come, it was like, because we had home births and stuff, and it was just like, and he was there, and it was just like, wow.
You felt it instantly.
Yeah, man. I was just like, I'm responsible for you, and I need to do whatever it takes to make sure that you are provided for, and you're protected, and you're safe. You know what I mean?
So let me ask you, they obviously went hand in hand. There's an atheistic line, good without God. Do you believe it's possible to be all of the things you just described without the presence of God in your life?
Those that are that, I take my hat off to you, because you know I struggle to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. So that was your way into
and like God for me is, you know, it is. God manifests himself everywhere at all times. Like the Lord was walking, like it's like footprints in the sand, right? God was always with me all the way through anyway. It was just I didn't know he was there. It's like you look back and there's 2 footprints, sometimes there's 4 footprints, and you turn around and you say, you know, you left me along that bit, you know, when I was running through the madness. It was like, no, I was carrying you, mate. How many times did you get away with that? How many times did you do that and get away with that? How much grace have I shown you in your life? How much grace?
Absolutely.
You know, you've been let off many times, Sonny, mate.
And often that'll come in hindsight. You don't know it at the
time, I'm
time,
sitting there going, mate, blaming him. It's like, nah, I looked after you and I backed you, and you don't even realise it.
Yeah.
You know, you don't even realise that God's doing things.
Well,
pulling the strings.
Let's talk about some of those historic or previous formative experiences. First of all, what was the environment like that you grew up in? We're speaking a lot about what that looks like.
You know.
And how did it kind of shape your voice now as both an artist and a thinker?
Yeah, so Southend in the early 90s, 2000s, there was like some sort of crack heroin epidemic in our city. Do you know what I mean? And
I remember it well.
Yeah, like,
sadly.
So, you know, I was a product of what was going on around the time. Like we lived in those areas, like the Kurzel. My mum had a little flat on the Kurzel, and my dad was like a rock and roller, man, and he was involved with all that sort of world. And his dad passed away when he was 13.
Wow, so young. Like.
Yeah, and my nan was only 28. My nan had my dad when she was 15. Wow. My nan was 28 and looked beautiful.
I was going to say, so your nan was at 30.
My nan was a 28-year-old woman with a 13-year-old son who was a widowed because they got married. Yeah, and then she was like a bar manager of a pub. So my dad was in there trying to. No, my dad was much bigger than me, 6'2", big, strong guy, and he was trying to look after his mum, and he was just drinking and fighting, and that was his life, right? So, and he was very talented, by the way. He was a goalkeeper for Watford and Leyton Orient in their youth teams, and he played cricket for Hertfordshire at the time. He was a boxer. He's amazing. My dad was a legend, man. And it was
so athletic.
But because his dad passed away when he was so young, it changed his whole life.
It does. It really
and that was in the 70s, right? So in the 70s, my granddad, Tony, they used to go around and rob. They was doing bank robberies in the chemists and stuff like that. That's what they was doing, yeah. And he was like an old school proper gangster.
Wow.
So he was that whole influence, and he ended up having a heart attack in my nan's bed.
Oh my God.
And that's how he passed away at home.
I'm a big fan of yours. I didn't know any of this.
Yeah,
neither will our audience.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's their story. I mean, it's my. So I'm big on lineage.
I was just going to say,
keeping. Yeah. So I'm only sharing this not for the world, but so that my children's children can go, wow, like
absolutely,
you know, because although that's like it's bad stuff, there's still like, you know, there's still something. For me, there's something that's kind of romantic about the life and all that.
You took the words out of my mouth.
Yeah.
I was going to say, what you describe as bad, I think a lot of you know that old saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Yeah.
I think what doesn't kill you can give you anxiety and central nervous system problems. It also
makes you stronger.
What makes you what you are.
So when people come up to me sometimes, they go, oh, you're so young. It's like, well, my granddad died when he was 32. So, and I'm 31. So, you know, Actually, in my genealogy, my genes, I'm old now. But even
you're thinking I ain't got time.
Yeah, I've got like 1 year to blow up. So yes, I will go on Britain's Got Talent and smash it out of the ballpark before, who knows? Do you know what I mean?
No, that's a really positive way of looking at it, because we often have this, particularly, and I was guilty of it, particularly when I'm 40 now, but I still feel it. You think you have time.
Yeah.
And we don't.
No, you got 1 day, man. You got 1 day. That's it. We got today, and we've all got the same 24 hours. That's why no one's better than anyone else, by the way, because you got 24 hours and I've got 24 hours. Let's see who can be most productive. Yeah? Let's go. Let's work. Get to work.
That's a wonderful way of looking at it.
What's your problem? Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah, goal-oriented.
So that's how I am. Yeah. It's like, we got 24 hours today. Are you going to get to work? Because I am. Yeah. So you can mess about. Do whatever you got to do. But I will outwork you, or I'll do my best. Do you know what I mean? And then if we're both working together, we can do big things.
You sound like me, Sonny, when I was starting my business and no one believed it could be successful.
But there you go. Yeah. And then
absolutely.
The key, the real trick is to have that mentality even when you've done it and then you've killed it and you're at the top, or you think you are, right? Because if you're at the top, the only way is down. The top's a scary place to be. The top's very scary.
Are you scared of getting to the top, given all that's happening right now?
It depends what top. Like, what is your top? And that's the thing. What is your top? Yeah. Many people from my world would have thought I'm at the top, or I've been at the top. But
looking at the artists you perform with.
I keep trying to prove to everyone, it's an elevator, bruv. But the only way is up. And rock bottom's the same, by the way. Rock bottom's the same. Guess what? Your rock bottom it's an elevator that can keep going down and down and down. It's up to you when you want to stop.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of looking at it. People speak of rock bottom like there's nowhere else to go, and they don't realise the depths that it's possible to plummet to.
Believe me, it can get worse and worse and worse.
Yeah.
So you got to be careful about where your rock bottom is, and it's up to you to go look to now's now. So and I had a rock bottom, and that's when when my dad passed away. That's kind of like a rock bottom for me. I was in a bit of a tricky situation, and I was in an interesting place in my life. I had this like a father figure that I could always. He was always there for me, however that looked, even if it wasn't financially. But if I picked up the phone, I was like, Dad, I'm in trouble. I need you. Like, you got.
He wasn't an absent.
He weren't absent. He weren't absent at all. He was always there. I used to be on tour. I'd be on tour all round with Asian Dove Foundation. I'd call him up at 4 a.m. I'd be in like the Czech Republic or in the middle of wherever, and I'd have had
a show. You did a 50-day tour, right? With him?
Yeah, I've done like over 50 shows across Europe, but not consecutively. So we'd do 5 shows, 2 shows, 3 shows, whatever, yeah? I'd call him up and I'd be like, Dad, and it'd be like 4 o'clock UK time, and I'd be drunk and this and that and whatever, and he'd answer, hello, and it was weird. It's going to make me feel emotional. But every time I called him, and it was weird because it was like a flip. So I'd call him when I was drunk and crazy.
Oh wow, yeah.
And he'd be sober at like 3, 4 in the morning.
Yeah.
And I'd have woke him up, but he'd answer. And he'd answer, hello son, you all right? Yes, Dad, what's going on, man? And it was late, but he'd always answer. And it was weird. And it was like he knew, and when he knew I had a show, it was like he knew that call could potentially come.
Oh wow.
So it was deep. But
that is,
power. Beautiful.
Yeah,
so he was, and like that father figure, and he'd done enough, man. So 13, his dad passed away, and then 10 years, I was 23 when he passed away, like on me. So those 10 years, he'd just done enough for them 10 years to get me to where I am now to a certain extent.
That's incredible.
Like them 10 years was enough. And that was like, he always used to, and he maybe even like, he used to always say like, as long as I don't go when you're like 13, 14. So he used to kind of.
So he knew he had limited time, you think? Even when you were growing up?
His lifestyle was mental, man.
Really?
His lifestyle was insane. Like he like his self-harm was through drugs and alcohol. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the way he used drugs and alcohol, especially alcohol, was not normal. He should have went to like he should have been in a rehab. And do you know what's sickening as well? And this is what's sad. So he's the sort. I think he would still be here if he could have had a liver transplant and went to a rehab or something like that. Like if he had money, if he had enough money, or I had enough money, like if it was like now or whatever, and I was like, right, if he went private and we got him a liver transplant, would he survive? The answer was probably yes. But because at the time we didn't have that financial situation, it was like, well, actually, you ain't got enough money for a new liver, mate. See you later. Like,
I understand.
And that's the difference between rich and poor.
Absolutely. You've hit the nail on the head perfectly.
It's crazy, right?
Even in a country where we have a national health service and there's not supposed to be a difference.
And to be fair, look, if they dished out liver transplants to every alcoholic in this country, mate, we wouldn't have an NHS. So I get it, right? I do get it. But at the same time, it would have been nice to have the option. And that's the difference, is options. That's what money gives you, is options.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm big on being able to make your own money and generate an income, because then you get options. And when you get options, you're not as depressed.
Again, you sound like me. I came from nothing. We had no money, and I read once that money doesn't buy you happiness, but it does buy you a more comfortable form of misery. And
you get choices, mate.
Exactly. But I was just about saying, it buys you choices. And when my dad was dying in Crete, I didn't even mean to go on this area, but we couldn't get him out. But a helicopter could. So we sorted that out. We tried to sort it out. It turned out in the end it wasn't necessary, but we had one on standby ready to go.
Yeah. Cool. Look at that.
Exactly. But that wouldn't have been possible if, we hadn't.
Yeah. If you hadn't sorted. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, which is beautiful, man. So you began freestyling, just taking it back a little bit. Yep. You began freestyling very young. What was there a moment, because we've discussed you've been doing this since you were a teenager. Yep. Can you remember a moment where you realised that what you were working on creatively could resonate with people, or that you had something to say that was worth listening to? Yeah, so in year 5, mate, when I was like 9 or 10.
Wow.
So I'd done this piece. I'd done a poem for my year 5 talent contest at Prince Avenue, and
that's pre-secondary school.
Yeah, I was with my friend Jack Clark, and I was speaking to him about it, and he
James Jones, Jack Clark,
and the rest of the clique. Yeah. So Jack, I was with today on Southend Seafront, and I said to him, "Do you remember when I'd done that?" And he goes, "I do, mate. Yeah, I do." So he was like 8 or 9, and he remembers it. So and I went and I'd done that, and I was like, I shared this with him. I said, "Mate, you do realise that that's not normal for an 8-year-old or a 9-year-old.
I was just about to say.
Now I've got a 7-year-old son. I'm like, so it's a few years, it might be like 9 or 10. So I said to him, that's not normal for me to want to do that. I said, that's like spiritual stuff. Like,
nature
God gave me a mission.
Nurture.
Yeah, like that is like, you're going to do this, by the way. It's like it's already been written.
That's why I asked you at the start. It was surprising when you told me you had the urge to perform prior to the realisation of your gift.
Yeah.
Because at that age, I thought you must have at least been 13 or something. But at that age, that's something that's in you when you're a baby. You were born with it, I think.
Yeah, and you can pick up subconscious stuff and all that. Yeah. But I do feel that, that was, and truly, I think I'm happiest, or I'm most present when I am kind of doing the arts, whatever that may be, whether it's performing, speaking, creating, writing.
Do you have a favourite?
Not really, no. I don't. I have different. There's nothing quite like that feeling of performing live, because it's an immediate dopamine hit.
Yeah.
So
instant result.
Yeah. It's instant.
Yeah.
When you're filming, you don't get that. But
you've got 9 months for the edit and the release.
Change the power. You can change the temperature of the room.
Right.
So when you're on a film set, what happens is usually you're surrounded by other creatives who actually care about what's going on in front of the camera, and some of them care more than you do what you're doing. So sometimes you get a dopamine hit off the director, or off of the writers, or off of the people on set, and they go, "Bloody, that was good, man! Wow!"
Yeah.
So there's the same dopamine hit. It's just a smaller audience.
I see what you mean. That's a good way of looking at it. Actually, the crew is actually the audience.
Yeah, the crew is the audience.
Yeah, that's a wonderful way of looking at it.
That's why it's important to be a good crew. Because I've been on sets where there isn't good crews.
Do you all hear that, guys?
No, but I have been on sets where the crew's a bit like, for instance, I'm playing like some crazy emotional role where I've got to either cry or I'm angry.
You've done some deep stuff already.
Yeah. And like, and then in between takes, I've got matey coming up to me going, "Oh yeah, did you see the football last night?" And I'm like, bruv.
Get me out of the
I'm supposed to be like, literally they come and and you're like, you obviously don't care about the show that much, which is cool and or whatever it is, but they just don't understand there's a certain etiquette that you need to conduct
energies.
yourself.
It's all energies.
It's energy, man.
Yeah, you're 20 different things in a day. When you're at home and you're a father, that's a different energy and presence and presence is the word. Being present. There's no past. There's no future. There's just that moment, which is different to when you're, rapid.
What I've worked out is that my kids love me best when I'm creating characters.
Oh, really?
So I like create mad little stories for them and like perform basically. Do you know what I mean? I'm always entertaining them.
And can you see yourself in that age when you were 8 years old and you were saying that's not normal? Can you see anything in them?
Yeah.
From a similar perspective?
Yeah. And they've already done stuff, man. They've done like commercials. My son Levi's done a short film called Piss and Chips, which is it's actually at...
How old is Levi?
So I think he was 6 when he done that,
what
6
are
or
you
7.
About? That's crazy.
So I starred in that short film. Taquino Faso directed it. Ella Bardo's playing the lead. They're very, very talented, up and coming kind of actors and filmmakers. And they sent me the script. I loved it. And then there was a part for a young boy in the script. And I said, well, who's going to be the young boy? And they said, oh, we haven't cast him yet. And I said, I'd like to put my son forward for it. And then I sent a little tape of him off and they just went, wow, he's perfect.
No way.
So, yeah, so he done that and he was a natural.
That, I saw a post about your appearance on Britain's Got Talent and the BBC gave a credit to a Levi Green.
Yeah, he took the photo.
I didn't realise.
So he took the photo, yeah. So there you go, he's a photographer as well.
Yeah, he's a young creative like his dad. So we've spoken a little bit about your background, growing up, your family. You mentioned the difference, particularly in your dad's health, and I saw it remind the rich versus poor thing. How did that dynamic, or not, I wouldn't call it poverty, that's a dated word with bags, with heaviness, but how did growing up how you did, how did that shape or influence your relationship to music, poetry and performance? Did it give you something to say and comment on in that world? Or because I guess it's the opposite. We hear a lot about actors and creatives that come from money and background, and that the Tom Hiddlestons of this world and the Tom Hollands, and this is the other side of the story. Absolutely.
Because you don't get to choose, right?
That's why I'm asking.
So no one gets to choose anyway.
No, I'm not having a go. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah. So, but I grew up around like reggae sound systems. My dad had was part of like a little collective called Justice Sound System and stuff, which was cool.
Is this why you made Freedom to Mankind? And was that a collective?
I'm not sure subconsciously, but yeah, maybe, like, you know. And then like we used to walk down the high street and stuff. And if there was buskers, and my old man knew some of them, and he'd stop and make them play like Oasis and random songs and that. You know, he's that guy. And yeah, it was good, man.
You sound like a man who takes after your father in a lot of ways.
Yeah, hopefully. I think all the best bits I try and drag out.
Yeah, from what you've said about and being gregarious, reaching out.
Yeah, that's what we should do.
Knowing people, relationships, community, all of that.
Yeah, I think with relationships with our family, we should go, do you know what? I love that about you. I'm going to try and absorb that you've taught me.
Yep.
I don't like that and that and that, and I think we can cut them bits off.
Be selective.
Yeah, because by your mum and dad and your family, you observe, you're constantly there observing their behaviour, especially as a young person or as a child. You're observing the older people in your community, and then it's up to you whether you want to act like them or whether you don't. So you've got a choice whether you want to follow in their footsteps or whether you want to go in the opposite way. Now, a lot of people go in the opposite way and they just rebel on a random one.
Yeah, that's very common.
Yeah, that's very common because you've grown up around it so much that you end up hating it. And also, because sometimes maybe but don't ever throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? It's like they're still you and you'll never escape that because I believe like if I'm here, if I'm here, in my genes, that's my dad, right? And his dad and his dad and his dad and his dad, and it goes right back to Adam, like it goes right back to or Noah.
Mike Skinner from the street said it.
You know,
you left nothing to remind me of you, and then I realised you left me to remind me.
See, and it's the same thing. It's like our heritage is us, so. And it's really important to know yourself and where you come from and your roots. And eventually, it all flows into one massive sea. And that's why we should treat each other like brothers, you know what I mean?
That's beautiful. And you've just reminded me of an idea that I hold very close, which is you're not a drop in the ocean. You're the ocean in a drop.
Ooh, look at that.
And it's if you really think about it, it's true, isn't
it? Yeah. So, and it's like anytime those kind of, I drop them all the time, and it sounds cheesy, but it's true. So it's like,
I disagree. I don't think there is cheesiness. It's context.
It's context, yeah. But even when you tell them the truth, it's like sometimes I feel it when I bring up bits of scripture and that. Sometimes people are like, oh my God, like, but it's the element of that truth. And when you say powerful stuff, sometimes it can make you or other people feel uncomfortable. But that's because it's the truth.
That's their problem.
It sounds like
don't give a shit.
It's a you problem. Yeah, exactly.
With your work spanning so many disciplines and mediums, and I don't just mean rapping and acting, but spoken word outside of the rap and stuff is a separate one. How do these different art forms that you engage with and excel at, if you don't mind me saying, how do they influence one another? Are you able to take your experiences in music and writing into 100%. The creative process of acting and vice versa? Or what does that look like?
So basically, what I realised and what landed my first film role was a poem I wrote, the One Taste One on top of the rooftop, etc. And that's the one that some of your guests that are going to be coming on in the future, they shared and they pushed and promoted for me.
Just talking about that, Sonny's work and fatherhood, he's written an incredible piece to do with fatherhood, which I'm very excited.
Check that out
for our audience to share when the time comes.
So yeah, basically, I got my first film role in a feature film called Still with Aidan Gillen, and it was only because of my spoken word poetry. So I performed it at Wilderness Festival for a secret cinema who had Asian Dub Foundation was doing the live score. This was before I toured with them.
Wow.
And then I stood up and I delivered a poem. And the spotlight come down on me. We done it on Broadwater Farm. We done it at Reading and Leeds.
Wow.
We done it at I think it's the Troxy Theatre in Limehouse. Pretty sure. Maybe we didn't do it there. I did go there. I went there they got me tickets to Bugsy Malone and I took my mum. So I'm getting things. I think we might have done it there. Sometimes I get stuff mixed up. But basically, after performing that poem, I think I was 17 or 18, a casting director called Carmel Cottrain come up to me and she said, I've been waiting to cast someone in a feature film and I think you are the right person for that film. And that's how I landed my first feature film, by doing my poetry.
That's explosive.
In a live setting. And that changed my life. That one poem changed my life.
I thought you were going to say they influence each other in the creative process and subliminally, but actually one literally led to the other.
Yeah, literally.
And that speaks a lot about, I would argue, how the, whatever you want to call it, universe, fate, God, whatever, how that works, that they happened to be in that room at that moment that you were performing that piece.
Yeah, and then on the back of that, in the film, it turns out it was an intense film and it went to Chicago Film Festival, done loads of stuff, but it turns out you need to watch it, but it's a bit deep because I'm kind of giving away the plot to a certain extent. But
you can put a link to the trailer in the comments.
It's been out for a while, so it's been out for years now. But in that film, and for those that have seen it, my character, who's like the lead kind of young gang member, ends up getting injected with like some sort of heroin-like substance.
Wow.
And to think that was my first feature film.
I was just going to say.
And the background and where I come from.
That's a bit close to the bone.
And I had to perform as if I'd just had a hit of heroin. And what that reaction looks like. But it was like a poison heroin kind of style. But it was getting injected. And I've got mad Aidan Gillen, mad Irish crazy actor, plays Littlefinger in Game of Thrones, coming at me with a needle.
I know exactly
coming to inject me, bro. And beats me up and all that. And he's like a proper method actor. He's like an incredible,
my God.
He's such an incredible actor, but he's so in it, method,
it's real. I've been there.
It's real.
I've been there.
Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's real.
It's real. And your body and your central nervous system can't know the difference.
So we're doing that.
It just thinks it's real.
And I'm 18, my first job, feature film, boom.
So
crazy.
This isn't on there, but on that's such a mad coincidence. I've got to ask, do you believe in coincidences? Was that a coincidence, or do you see some kind of divinity
call it
there?
A God incidence.
Yeah, absolutely. That's fascinating.
I don't believe in coincidence at all.
And on those experiences, and whether it's working on your first film as something that's a bit close to home as a result of that came via a spoken word piece, or performing on tour with people like the Asian Dub Foundation, or working with Pete Doherty in the random...
Again, Pete Doherty, working with him, that was the first time I realised that
that's what I was going to ask, because he's also known for being having drug problems,
and that was the first time I realised that those harder drugs wasn't just for poor people.
Right, okay.
Because I'd done some shows with him, and all these rich West London girls and all these people was out there taking hard drugs, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, I thought that was for my dad and his mates,
working
and
class,
these what people would call proper junkies. Yeah. And then when I see like high class, looking gorgeous, pretty mad, and I thought, what?
Primrose Hill.
And and I was like, what? They take that drug as well? And you know what? It made me feel better about my life and my upbringing. It made me feel better. It made me feel like I shouldn't be ashamed.
Yeah, it took a weight off.
It took a weight off.
That's beautiful.
In a weird way.
No, I love that.
It took a weight off. It was like, wow, like it's not just for. I thought that just affected us, but it doesn't. And it's also scary because
it's not about down and out to people that have failed.
And what it goes to show you is that addiction and these hard drugs, guess what? Then they don't just go for the poor communities. You could be a billionaire and you could have a rich son and he could end up a heroin addict and ruin everything, man.
Yeah.
So, by the way, the disease of addiction will run through the whole of society.
It doesn't care about your background.
If the rich people don't start investing in certain areas and they don't try and help, it's going to affect you and your children too. So that's a wake-up call. Like, be careful. It's not just for the poor people. It runs through.
Well, you're not wrong. Without naming names, there are plenty of very wealthy people whose sons and daughters have become anything but a mirror of their parents. And so what have those very nuanced experiences, what have they taught you, particularly in front of audiences, about the role of art and expression in relation to societal change or societal problems that need change?
It can change everything, and it always has done, without even people knowing, like subconsciously, the music you listen to and the culture, because it goes back to that whole thing again. So does life imitate art or does art imitate life?
Yeah.
So it's like, is the art we create, does that change our society, or is it the society that creates the art, right? So
how do you see it?
It's just like one of them questions where it's like there isn't really, it's no one can really tell because it's pulse.
Cyclical.
It's a pulse, you know what I mean? Yeah. And there wouldn't be the art without that society. And it's like, it's really difficult to tell. But one thing's for sure is that art definitely impacts the world in such a major way. And conversations like podcasts nowadays and everything, it changes the game. And that's why it's so important that if you do have issues or you want something to say, or, especially if you're like a young voice, that you do create it into an art form, because people will often listen to, I don't know, a spoken word piece or a song. They'll digest it better than they will if you just put a rant out on Facebook.
You're absolutely right. There's a whole thing about, and I know poetry and spoken word doesn't have to rhyme at every word, and very often the best ones don't. But a message, Bill Hicks. Have you heard of Bill Hicks?
Yeah, of course.
I think the greatest stand-up comedian to have ever lived, along with George Carlin, said that a message, and he would joke that he got his truth from comedians and he got his comedy from the news.
See?
Because very often messages are more engageable when they're done in the entertaining fashion, whether or not that's song, spoken word, entertainment, stand-up, whatever that looks
because it softens your heart.
Is that right?
Well, it's just like when you're being entertained,
takes your guard down.
Your guard's down, brother. Yeah. Because you're being entertained.
Yeah.
So they're like, wow, they're charismatic. They're making me laugh. They're entertaining me. Oh my God, he's just changed my whole perception of the world.
This is one of the reasons I'm so affected by your stuff and why I can't wait for the rest of our audience to see it. Which, on that, we spoke very briefly about how you were recently predominantly featured on Britain's Got Talent. Did you know that you were going to be given a main part slot of the show?
No, you don't know. No, they don't tell you none of that. You just go and do your audition, and then what happens, and that's life, right? It's the same with the New Year's Eve thing. I was obviously the New Year's Eve thing. They reached out, contacted me. I thought
the BBC is that?
A production company, and I thought they was joking, or it was my mates giving me a prank call.
Everybody says that.
Do you know what I mean?
Big opportunities come and your brain goes, no, this can't be real.
Or it's just like, are you winding me up? Like New Year's Eve fireworks, that thing that's like gets 20 million people watching it.
Yeah, 26 million.
Or whatever, So I was like, okay. And then I just don't believe it's real until it's out, because I always think that they're just going to cut it. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I always feel like...
Well, that happens too, right?
Yeah, that happens too sometimes, right? But thankfully, it's not happened to me yet, really. And pretty much everything I've ever done has been impactful enough to get released. So
100% it has been. So on that, without giving too much away, from what the nation saw of you as, let's call it an introduction for people that weren't already aware of your work, is there, what do you hope the nation learns about you in these live shows? What are they going to see anything different?
I don't care what they learn about me. It's more about what...
No, I mean your work, what you do, what's important to you, what you've got to say.
If they engage in my stuff, brilliant. I love it. But at the same time, I want us to... Like, I just want them to learn, like...
What would you like to show the nation, is what I'm asking you, I guess, in those live shows.
The working class English people, one, can be creative, talented, have something to say, have a voice that sometimes is different to the narrative, that the picture that sometimes gets painted in the media, and that we're not all racist, bigoted, crazy,
Union Jack short wearing,
nutters,
Irish pub drinking,
drug taking.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
I want them to go, actually, do you know what? They're artists, they're creative, they can be all different. It's not as simple as some narratives push.
You don't always need 50 grand a year training, is what you're saying.
There you go.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then the other thing is that you can go out there with just a pen and a paper, without any flashy business, without any expensive guitars, without any...
I heard you saying that on the BBC piece.
And that's what I'm into, because for me, I was the kid who didn't have access to the stuff that I potentially would have liked to have been doing.
Right.
Yeah. So because of that, like, if you're a young kid watching this, which you might be, it doesn't matter if your family can't afford stage school, if they can't afford, theatre classes or drama classes or equipment or that posh camera or whatever. Because nowadays, thankfully, we can do so much with just a phone and a pen and a pad or your notes on your iPhone. There's nothing stopping you. Don't limit yourself.
And an internet connection
and
as well.
And an internet connection, which you can get. There's free Wi-Fi in any high street, So there ain't nothing stopping you. You don't limit yourself.
There's less barriers to
There's less barriers to entry. In fact, there's hardly any.
I suppose there's less now than when you were coming up.
There's a lot less now. In fact, before I come here, I'd done a video. I went on CapCut and I'd done the captions, and Tommy Davis, the director of Cash in Hand, said to me at London Film School, which he went to, he said, to put subtitles and captions, when I studied at London Film School, to do that 10 years ago, that would have cost money. That would have been time. That would have been like an all-day thing.
Right, of course, because someone's sitting there manually doing it.
Generated it for me in like 30 seconds, and he would have said that would have took hours and hours and hours.
And it's not just the time, it's the money for that time.
And you'd have paid someone who's with the equipment to do that. And now I can do that on CapCut in 5 seconds.
Yeah, that's a perfect example of how accessible these things are now. And it should serve as an inspiration for anyone, given that there's less barriers than what someone like yourself had to experience. So on that note, and as an artist across spoken word, music, your stuff that you put to paper, the book actually currently charting on Amazon, and as an actor, have you ever felt, because you've always been uncompromising, and that's, for myself at least, that's why I've always been a fan, but do you think, I should say, you've ever suffered for being truthful, or I should say,
I think
counterculture?
Yeah, I think I have.
Counter mainstream.
I think I have, without even realising.
Well, it's always without you realising at the time,
so,
always.
So that's the issue, right?
Tell me about that.
So I have, but people just, what they do is they just don't engage, or they just say, yeah, thanks, but no thanks.
Great, but
they say thanks, but no thanks. Yeah. It's as simple as that, right? And at the same time, that's why you got to be cool, and you got to be smart, and you got to realise, and to be honest, I think there was moments and there was times where I genuinely, because someone sent me a video the other day, one of my mates, he sent me a video, he said, son, what do you think of this, Sonny? And he sent it to me, and I just went, bro, to be honest, I can't hear a word you're saying because you just sound angry.
Really?
Yeah.
You heard his anger first, not the message
it was just angry. And what he was saying was actually really good, but it was just so angry. Right. And it weren't, so sometimes that was my problem, I think, that some of my art was just like angry.
Yeah.
And it was the pain that I was transmitting through my art was anger and like frustration because of the world I grew up in and everything. And I was just an angry young man, right?
Yeah. And
that held me back more.
I must ask you though, they say if you're informed, if you're not angry, you're not paying attention. So do you think that anger was well placed or justified?
It was justified. Cool. But at the same time,
it's not helping you.
And they want you angry.
Right.
So the devil wants you angry. The enemy wants you angry. Those powers that be, they want you angry. They want you frustrated, right? So you're playing into their they're playing their hand and you're bloody responding, man.
You're playing that game.
Yeah, you're not, you're getting psyoped by being angry.
That's a fascinating area. That's something this podcast looks to deal with, particularly with people like Chase Hughes or experts, whistleblowers that have worked for government intelligence agencies and come out and blowing the whistle about what psyops are. I must ask you a big question, and it is later, but on that note...
Pass. One of them ones.
Who are the powers that be? Because everyone's got a different idea. I've got my own. Some people have theirs. So who are they?
So for me, it's those that are under control of the devil, brother.
Okay.
They're the ones that run the world. The Bible tells me so, right? So it says that the world is under control of the wicked one, but we are the children of God. So those that are in the Epstein files, some of those, maybe all of those, but
all of them,
definitely him,
all of them
and all of those people that weren't victims, and whoever. I mean, I haven't read through them all one by one, but that sort of ballpark people, right? That direction of people are probably under and are, I speak, however, whatever, but basically. It tells us, scripture tells us, and if you're a Christian and or if not, but the scripture that I read tells me that the world is under control of the devil, but we are the children of God, and that I'm highly blessed and highly favored. Hallelujah. So,
good on ya.
Yeah. So that being said, those that want to conform into that agenda, they will reap their rewards in this world. So congratulations, well done. You can have your flashy things and you can have your this and you can have your that.
Yachts and,
But what's your soul? Where's your soul? What's it saying? Where's your serenity? Where's your peace?
Spiritual consequences.
Where's your spiritual consequences?
Yeah,
and they dive deep down the darkness. So for me, and what I saw to some people said the other day, right? I went on Britain's Got Talent. It was amazing. It got 3.5 million views on Facebook. Someone had the cheek to say...
It was huge.
Someone had the cheek to say, oh, look, he sold his soul.
Really?
I commented...
You're kidding.
I commented, say, I can't sell my soul because Jesus already has it, mate.
It ain't mine to sell.
It ain't mine to sell. Hallelujah.
Yeah.
Right? But that being said, I do believe, and this is the other thing, and I know, forget a be naive, right? I know that we all sell our souls to something at some point, whatever that may be. And everyone has a God. They just don't know what it is sometimes. Some people don't realize that their God is Arsenal Football Club and they worship.
At the altar of Highbury.
They worship and they go to church and it's
the Emirates.
Yeah. And they worship the football players. They idolize the football players. They sing songs of worship. They pay their 10% tithing of their wages to the football players. They read the football programs, which is like reading like little snippets of the scripture. They know their history.
Psalms,
they know their lineage. They're what? Come on, man. You worship them. That is your God, bro.
What are they with a crowd? That's a congregation.
Yeah, it's a congregation. Like you have a God, and it's the same for all the different subsections. Everyone watching this has a God. Just tell me what it is. It's like, oh yeah, do you believe me? Yeah, everyone's got a God. It's just some it's such and such. Some it's, some it's Kim Kardashian, some it's Jesus Christ, some it's Kanye. So, whatever it is. Everyone worships something.
Yeah.
So
by their actions and supporting of that thing, whether it's
they worship something. So that's when you've got to ask yourself, what are you worshipping, and how do you worship, and what is it that you've sold out to? Because guess what? Some people have sold out to some like random thing that is just like killing off their whole vibe and their existence.
Detrimental to their own existence.
It's detrimental to their own existence,
I say it all the time.
And don't get me wrong, this is another thing, right? There's people out there that are doing an incredible job working in a high street store, and they're giving 100% and they love it. There's someone I know in a local fast food restaurant in my area, and let me tell you, he's probably one of the best people on the planet doing that job that he's in, and he lives, breathes and dies for it, and he gives it 100%, and he's asking every single customer who walks in there for a review. And he's so amazing at his job that he could do it far better than I could.
Yeah.
far better than I could, right? So he's actually performing at a higher standard in that fast food chain. He's probably sold his soul to that fast food chain, but do you know what? He loves it there, and he's giving 100%, and he's doing his best, and he's serving his community to a high standard, man. And it's amazing.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying, oh, everyone who's working at 9 to 5's in the rat race and you sold your soul to... No. Because he's being a service to his community.
Yeah, I see that.
So that's what it is. And it takes, guess what? It takes people like that, man, to make the world go round, to keep the cogs turning. Like, we need people...
Absolutely.
Not everyone's mad, crazy, like thinkers and entrepreneurs and this and that and this and that. Like, we need those people like more than anything, and they're the real ones, and they're the ones I care about. That's why when I went out on Britain's Got Talent and they go, what are you? And I was like, what's the thing that I actually love as well? What's the thing that I get a load of enjoyment from? And what's the thing that I actually feel closest to, like to kind of like my raw essence? And it is being a market trader.
Well, that was what was mad watching that myself. I couldn't believe that you said that purely because I've been a fan of yours for over a decade. So I heard you say that, and then I was thinking,
I've sold myself short.
Like, understatement. I was thinking, what? Like, how is that what you describe yourself as, given what I know about what you do?
Yeah, of course. But go on Step Time on my YouTube channel and you'll see me. I've done hundreds of markets that I upload, and the markets actually...
I've watched a few. It's banging entertaining. That's why you've got over 40,000 followers.
And another thing that's mad is that them markets, sometimes I can generate more money at the market than I can on stage and on tour. Sometimes. So I used to...
That makes sense.
You know, which is mad.
Artists aren't paid enough because they're I think, like nurses or something. They're told they should do it for the love of it or whatever that
so
looks
yeah,
like.
for promotion, right? So I've been So I could have been around the world touring, but I tell you now, nearly pretty much every time I've done a Sunday boot sale, I've made more than what I've been paid when I've been in Europe. But
that's mad, isn't it?
Don't forget, I was kind of like a session MC, like with ADF and everything. So it's like a session MC. And
but that's not the point.
I know, but you post a picture on your Facebook, on your Instagram of you on stage in front of 5,000-10,000 people, and they think, wow, he's made it. You post a picture of yourself down the boot sale, and they think, oh, look at that loser. But what they don't realise is, it's upside down. You're getting the wrong end of the stick, mate.
Sonny,
so you're a
man after my own art. I smashed the life out of agencies in London my whole career, and I said I'm going to walk away from all that and start a business. And everyone told me I was mad.
And then you smashed it, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But that goes to show, like, perception isn't reality.
Yeah,
right?
Perception ain't reality.
No, exactly.
In fact,
people's perception.
It's often the opposite, and it's also like the grandeur of everything is not reality either, right. And that's what makes me laugh. And
that's social media's problem.
Yeah, and media's and people
and media,
and
point,
our problem. That's why sometimes I struggle with people when they ask me certain questions about, like, how do you feel like when you met this person? And I'm like, well, I felt just the same as when I met you, who's asking me the question. Like, the person asking me, I'm like, I felt the same meeting him as I did meeting you, because you're amazing too. And maybe not so amazing too, but it's like, you're still just a human being. I don't hold any of these people in any sort of like, I don't worship any of them. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't worship them people. There's one person who I'd probably be a bit different around.
I was just about to ask, who's that person?
Thierry Henry. So the one person that I'd actually go, bruv, do you know what?
Yeah.
What do you want? Like, do you know what I mean?
I wrote mine down. I don't look up or down at anybody, but there's 5 people in my life.
Yeah, there might.
I do.
Yeah.
Defer to.
Yeah.
Some people just have got more experience, knowledge, understanding. Like, it's just the way it is.
But Thierry Henry was scoring goals, and he brought so much love to my.
I was just going to say, it's not the football, it's the happiness.
To my 10-year-old self. He brought me so much. That's why they call it the beautiful game. But what he done when I was 10 years old and Arsenal went unbeaten, 49 games unbeaten, I had 100% school attendance that year when I was in year 6. And do you know what? Everyone who got 100% school attendance, they took us to Highbury. And that was the first and only time I ever went. And it was because I had 100% school attendance. And they took us to Highbury. And that's someone that
wasn't even, like you say, a fan of school or going or and all that.
On a school trip, mate. And I went there, and everyone knew that would just mean everything to me. Like, everyone in that year 6 class, and big up Miss Kaufman and everyone. And all my mates, James Jones, Jack Clark, Menashe, all the crew, Chris, everyone. And that was like one of the most golden moments of my life. So, you know what I mean? Big up Thierry.
That's a good point, because you say Thierry Henry and everyone just thinks, oh, football fan, Arsenal fan, but it's actually what the love of football and Thierry Henry delivered to you and affected your life.
Deeper than football. People don't get it. No, they just see football thugs doing stupid stuff, and they just say, "Oh yeah, I don't get it. There's 22 geezers kicking a football around. Oh, what? It's so much more spiritual than that, man. It's special." Absolutely. And a lot of these footballers come from rock bottom. How many are from like the favelas in Brazil and that, and like ghettos? Thierry Henry was
East London, the cages.
Yeah,
yeah, absolutely.
Like. It is the working class sport. It's the underclass. That is your only way out. Why do so many kids want to be footballers? And it's because, well, that's like their way out. You know what I mean? So, and that's why I still play football a lot, and I still love it, and it is the beautiful game. And I put my heart and soul into football and that as a sport, and it's a good way to communicate. It's good for your community. Look, it comes from the factories of working class areas, bruv. Yeah, and
that's how West Ham started, the ironworks.
And the Arsenal, they was making weapons or whatever, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
the gunners.
During the time, you know. But at the same time, yes, guess what? It's been hijacked by big corporations and big money, because everything with soul and with heart and with passion, eventually people pump money into it. Yeah. But not only that, if you're selling out 100,000 seat a stadium and it's 40 quid a ticket, and there's 100,000, what's 100? Do the maths.
Yeah.
There's money involved, bruv. Yeah. So who deserves to make the money? The people playing it, right? They're the people everyone's coming to watch.
Yeah, that's it.
So they do deserve some dough. Oh, what? Yeah. And then big sponsors just giving you 20 million to it's like you got to hook the footballers up to some degree, right? Yeah. And then it's up to the footballer what they do with their money. Yeah. And where they spend it and how they invest.
But not all of them asked to be a role model, do they?
No, well, no, they don't have to be. They're just good at football, mate.
Yeah,
they're not role models.
A lot of them are placed as role models.
And they shouldn't be. And they shouldn't be.
That's my point.
And I don't want to be, by the way. I'm not a role. No, for real. Right. Because people try to put me as I'm not no role model, mate. What are you talking about? No way.
I'm not saying you
are.
I'm
just saying.
I'm saying you don't.
No, I'm not a role model. There's one perfect person that's ever walked this planet, and his name's Jesus Christ. Hallelujah, the Lord and Savior, right? And I'm not perfect. No way. I'm gonna disappoint you. I'm gonna fall short. I'm gonna do stuff you're not happy with. I've said stuff that ain't good. I've done stuff that ain't good. I'm not a good. I'm just trying. Yeah. So don't put me on no pedestals, man. Like, you know, that's not cool. Like, I don't want to be no role model. I can just share my truth and what my heart is, and I'll do my best, and I'll tell you I love you and care about you and all that, and help and do my best at that if I'm up for it, because who knows what's going on
in your world,
in my world.
Yeah.
So I can't always respond to every message. I can't always answer the phone. I can't always be there because sometimes, you know, my son might need me to read him a book, or I might need to do the washing up, or the bins might need taken out, or I might be writing a poem, or I might be on a podcast. So I can't be like 24/7 accessible, because no one deserves that. And that is sometimes the negative thing about being in the public eye, is that everyone feels like they can have a piece of you.
Right.
And your anonymity is gone. And you walk and you're walking in, because you walk into a shop and now everyone's, you know, judging you, want something of you. And it's like, well, you know, but that's what you signed up for, bruv. Like, so
that's part of the territory.
That's part of the territory. Yeah. So for all those that are going into this world, just know that's what you signed up for. Just know there's going to be paparazzi. Just know there's this. Just know there's that. Just know, you're going to be under scrutiny, and that's okay. But at the same time, if you're a fan of those people, don't be on their case all the time for, like, you know, if you send a message to someone, or if I send a message to Thierry Henry and I DM him, I shouldn't be upset if he doesn't reply.
Of course not.
Do you know what I mean? But
you should be happy if he does.
Yeah. But there are people out there that if you don't reply, they start sending you messages like, "Oh, you didn't reply to me." Like, they start going crazy, and you just think, mate, like, you know,
they think you owe him something almost.
Yeah, which is strange, but
well, I can guarantee, especially from what you've told us, since obviously finding God, doing your best, I think you would be a very good role model for at least your son, even if you don't want to be one.
Yeah, and
to anyone else.
Yeah, and like my book,
people may see that and hold you up in regard as a result.
So this is, and I'll tell my son what my dad told me, right? So this book's been knocking about my van since it came out anyway. So that's why I said.
And this is the book currently available.
This is the book that's
on Amazon, right?
That you can get in the links. What England Means to Me. So it says, this book, What England Means to Me, is dedicated to my late father, Martin Galforce Green. He passed away in 2017. He always said to me, learn from my mistakes. Don't repeat the ones I've made. Do what I say and not what I do. Yeah. So even if, you learn from my mistakes, and I'm a terrible.
Do as you say, not as you do.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And learn from the mistakes that people make. And it's not always the. It's not always, the good stuff. It's actually the bad stuff. So, and that is the key. Even if you've done loads of bad stuff, you can still inspire people how not to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's like, you've showed me the manual, you've showed me the way not to do it. So those that are down, depressed, lost, lonely, broken, do you know what? You're inspiring people even by messing up.
Yeah, absolutely. It's part
Which
of the
is
journey.
crazy to think, right? And they're beating themselves up about it because they're, I ain't good enough, or I haven't been doing this, I haven't been doing that. But guess what, man? Just by you still going, and even though you're messing up and causing chaos or whatever, you're still inspiring.
I say it all the time. You only lose when you quit.
Yeah. And that's
otherwise it's just experience.
Yeah. And people go to me, oh yeah, you quit smoking, or you quit doing this, you quit doing that. And I'm like, I didn't quit doing that. I just stopped. Winners don't quit, and quitters don't win. Do you know what I mean?
Sonny, we've spoken a lot about your sort of kind of climb and your background. As you've worked with these incredible artists, which good on you, you don't hold in any higher or lower regard than anyone else. Have you kind of seen, or I should ask, what does kind of power or influence mean to you, and where have you seen it most kind of prevalent in today's world? Because obviously, the world's a lot different now as it was even 6-7 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, like, when I say I don't hold different people in high regard, obviously there's people out there that have more influence than others, etc. So, but I suppose these days the power is in how big your audience is, right?
Yeah.
So
eyeballs.
If you've got 2 million subscribers on this YouTube channel, when you ask matey or whoever to come on, they just come on, bruv.
Yeah.
They reply to your email.
Yeah.
They pick up the phone.
Yeah.
Because that's the clout. And I think in this modern world, that's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's one of the benefits of my rise at the moment, is that my followers are flying up, and suddenly when I do message people, they do reply. You know what I mean? And
in my world, we call that reach.
Yes, reach.
And I bet yours is through the roof.
Yeah, I've got a massive reach, right? And which is okay, but then you get people who want a part of that reach and whatever, and that's okay too. But at the same time, it's like, you just got to realize that no matter what, just keep your integrity. I've got some friends with some huge, like,
that's a key word for it,
yeah, just integrity, mate. Like, I literally, and people know, and the way you are with people, they just get it. They understand, so it doesn't matter.
It's your energy, isn't it?
It's your energy, like, and the more I've met people that are on huge platforms and stuff like that, and have, like, Brian May and Ed Sheeran. When I met Ed Sheeran in the studio at Sticky Studios in Studio 1, I was in Studio 2, he was in Studio 1.
You must have been a bit starstruck then.
Bruv, my man, he comes up to me, Ed goes, "Hi, I'm Ed, nice to meet you." And I'm like, "Nice to meet you, mate. My name's Sonny, but by the way, you don't have to introduce yourself no more." Just see it.
I know.
Yeah. Just so you know, guys, like, you're past that. Like, everyone.
That's hilarious.
So, but what that done, that was in like 2014, 15, 16, something like that. 2015, I think. What that done to me was, like, no matter how big you get, always say, "Hello, my name's Sonny."
Yeah, good point, yeah.
Don't ever forget that. That's what I took from that interaction. Was just always introduce yourself. Don't be an idiot and think you know everyone knows who you are. It's pathetic.
Of course it is.
That is pathetic,
yeah,
mate.
Of course it is.
And if Ed can do that, who's biggest artist in the world, or definitely was at the time, then if anyone starts doing that stuff around me, I just think, mate, come on, sort it out.
I heard a story about Michael Jackson filming one of his songs. I think it was Jam, in the basketball, and he did it with Michael Jordan. And Michael Jordan said, I think it was Michael Jordan, it was either him or the director, Michael Jackson, who was huge at the time, just released Dangerous, he introduced himself, and they were all like, yeah, like, we know. Do you know what I mean? But that humility is important to remember. We're all humans, right?
Yeah, and that's, yeah.
Do you, this isn't, because of everything that we've seen in the last few months from the release of the Epstein files, I don't know how much you've read about any of that. Before that, obviously, Panama Papers, the controversy and lockdowns and COVID and everything else.
Panama Papers are.
It was a tax thing from 10 years ago.
Okay.
This journalist, long story short, came out with evidence and proof that the most influential people on the face of the earth were illegally. Well, that is true. We've since found out, but at that point, it was that they were all tax evaders, keeping all of their money in Panama, including at the time our Prime Minister, who was David Cameron. The only thing to happen from that revelation, that worldwide story, is that the journalist that broke it was murdered in a car bomb. That's the only thing that happened. So, but you're right. Since the Epstein files, we've now learned that we are ruled by people that are satanic, and that's their god. You mentioned everyone's got
that's their god.
That's theirs.
Theirs is Baal or whatever.
Baal, yes, and Moloch.
Yeah, I don't even like. I rebuke that name in the mighty name of Jesus. Hallelujah.
I do, and that was
get behind me, Satan.
Do you think that even now, with cancel culture largely being behind us, but a huge thing that we all saw and lived through, do you think that mainstream media now suppress it? We know that it did, but does it now suppress critical voices like yours, or some of the stuff you've done historically, I should say? Or does the internet and decentralized platforms like YouTube, Joe Rogan becoming bigger than any mainstream media and the kind of stuff he says, does that now give us a better chance for truth to break through the culture, let's say?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, like, these days, whatever truth you want to find out is possible, mate. That's what I'd say, is that I don't think there's nothing that's not being said or that has been said. I think it's all there to find somewhere on the internet, right?
Well, actually, that's a good point. They say if you look hard enough, you can find anything you can imagine.
And it is all there, like, and there's a lot there. What I think is important is what you do with that truth, how you process it, and how it affects you.
Yeah, what you do with it,
and how that affects your family and your community and society, and where your heart's at, your head's at, and because I've had mates that have gone down the rabbit hole, different rabbit holes, and some of them haven't come back out of that rabbit hole.
Really?
Yeah, man. And it was sad to see.
Yeah.
Where it's like they found out the truth, and the truth swallowed them up, man. You know what I mean? And
the truth hurts.
It's just, the truth is actually scary.
Yeah.
And
we've certainly learned that.
Especially when it's about the world and society. So, but also not only that, because don't forget, Jesus actually said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. The truth is, it's a funny one, isn't it?
Like, I'm obsessed with it. It's what this podcast is for.
Yeah.
I want the truth, however painful, good, bad, or indifferent it is. I want the truth.
But also, it's like, it's about, there's so many different truths on so many different levels of like spiritual stuff.
Yes.
So there's like the truth about the world, and there's like the truth about our family, and there's the truth about, what if that tea's better than that tea, and then there's like what matters as well, right? So
you're right. I should say specifically,
like
the truth about the forces which govern and augment our existence.
Yeah. Which for me is like, okay, there's a massive dark force out there that is like, and that's the truth, right?
That's why I was so keen when you are talking about a religious aspect of Jesus. I don't believe. I've completely changed the way I see everything like that. It used to off-put me, and I thought it does.
Religious. It puts off loads of people, man.
But nowadays, with the understanding that we are in a spiritual war, and it is all the more
I see it as protection. Like,
I was just going to say
protection.
That, armor.
I'm like, if those guys that are in the Epstein files walk through this door, I will rebuke them in the name of Jesus. Now they'll run off.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
if I say his name and it freaks people out, that's probably a good thing. It's like good. It's like scaring them away from me, which is hallelujah. And whether it's Yeshua or Isha or whatever, that's my armor. And if there's mad corporations or mad record labels or mad who don't want to get involved with me because I believe in Christ, brilliant. Thank you. That's just saved a whole lot of time for me and everything. So, and also that being said, like, I love people, man. I love people.
Yeah.
So I'm not like, I don't dislike anyone who's not of the same faith as me.
View,
yeah, I love you still, man. It's like, it's one of them things where I got a good, and that's why I wrote like the poem, like Jesus Ain't a Racist, because I feel that so much bad stuff has been done in the name of Christ, and
it's the inversion.
Men have used it and perverted it and twisted it and stole it.
That's what's meant. It's
and
upside
it's
down.
put people off
100%
of the truth that I'm upset about that. And you know, let's get it right. It's predominantly white men who's gone across the world and done all this stuff. And like the KKK used Jesus, and even the Nazi party used positive Christianity. It's like, those people are not Christians, mate.
No, Hitler was a studier of the occult.
Of the occult and everything like that. But also, like they even that symbol was like Hindu. It was like a Hindu.
I've been there. I've been to India and seen it, and it blew my mind because no one told me. I said, "Why the fuck is this swastikas everywhere?" This guy was like, "No, look closely, it's not."
Yeah, so
and then I learned that's where they got it.
So he was using
a Hindu symbol.
He was using like stuff to do with goodness and love and positive stuff. Yeah,
Ayurvedic, maybe not Hindu, but certainly Ayurvedic.
You know, and then they twist it, and that's how the devil works. So the enemy uses the truth and then just twist it a tiny, tiny, tiny amount, because the best liars are like sail close to the truth.
Yeah, of course, because it's more convincing, right?
And that is the scary thing, right? So that's why we got to be like so using wisdom and discernment to go, actually, you know, and it happens within different faiths and different podcasts and different songs and all sorts of different things where it's like you're saying the truth. It's actually kind of the truth, but you've just like scuffed that and swerved that bit. And so actually, man, I'm not sure.
What you've just described accurately, I think, is the sort of perversion meeting point behind the demonic Satan worshipping music we get.
Yeah.
The mark of the beast, which is becoming more and more and more and more relevant, and the pervasive nature of the where we get 666 in a lot of symbolism and logos. Logo or logos is from the Greek word logos. And
always dive into the ancient Greek, man. It's so good.
Always do.
Like the Greek's great, and same in scripture as well. So for instance, there's 4 different meanings of the word love. So when you see love written in the Bible, that's translated from ancient Greek, but the Greeks had 4 different definitions of the word love.
Oh wow. Okay.
So there's so much, it's so much deeper than just love.
Yeah,
so when it says like God is love and this is love and that is love, it's like, well, what did they actually mean by that? Because like love, for instance, right, the English language has like simplified it in a way which has actually messed it up in a sense. Like the love I have for tea is different from the love I have for my wife or the love I have for my son, or you know, you get like father's love, you get romantic love, you get, you know, there's different forms of it. So it's one of those things where, you know, when we dive into certain, and that's again why language is so important and why words are so powerful, and that's why I almost like don't even like saying certain things or talking about certain topics, because when I dive into those for too long, it affects my spirit. It's like my inner being. It's like my actual what they call it, you know, those atoms that make up our human body change by the words we use when we're speaking.
Yeah.
And when you're hearing it, like right now, whoever's digesting this podcast, your atoms are changing with the words that I'm using, and it's a vibration that's coming out of my mouth. And when you speak back to me, that's a vibration coming at me. And they're like, it's called spelling because it's spells,
You
right?
sound like me.
So, but it's true.
I know.
So that's why we got to be careful.
It's called spelling because you're casting spells with your words.
That's why I try not to curse no more. That's why I try not to swear too much, because it's like I'm throwing it out there. And unfortunately, when I'm not at my best, sometimes my words, man, just cuts through people in a negative way. And then I wake up the next day going, as if
worrying about what you've said.
As if I said that to him, or I reacted like that and I said that, and I was like, that's pretty poor from me. You know what I mean? I could have handled that better. So,
but good on you for recognizing that, because you got to check yourself.
You have to be accountable, man.
Yeah, that's the word.
Being accountable is so key for all of us.
So, well, on that, we've spoken about how you've got, obviously, you're an artist with a voice and a reach. Talking about taking individual responsibility, whether that's a father or a person, or what you can do. What would you say for someone that doesn't have a voice or a talent or the kind of reach and a profile, let's call it, that you do? How can they take individual responsibility and improve their own kind of lives, surroundings, and wider the community that they're in?
So they can do that by communicating with people, by putting your playing on aeroplane mode when you're inside a social space and just going, hello, mate, you all right? Nice to meet you. By the way, I've seen you in this coffee shop 20 times. I've never said hello to you. Sorry about that. But like, we're in the same community here, and it'll be nice to just say hello, basically, let you know who I am, just engaging and bringing it back to that, that looking in people's eyes and getting to know people in real life.
Yeah, absolutely. Not behind a screen.
Yeah.
Or a social network.
And that's why it's important to go to shows, like meet people,
You've hit the nail on the head. Look at how you got that film role. It's from going out and doing
putting myself out there.
Putting yourself out there, yeah.
And it's really important. And that's why church is good, man. Whatever form that is, whatever church you're going to, whether it's the Emirates,
a lot of people do say it's a religious experience.
Yeah. Whether it's the Emirates or whether it's your church or where you're local, or going out, but being in a community.
Yeah,
because then you're surrounded by people who, hopefully, are all agreeing and following and supporting the same cause, whatever that may be. So instantly, when you go to a church or when you go to the same football ground with the home fans, you are around like-minded people. So you've immediately something
in common
you can talk about.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Without knowing you're going to get in an argument.
You might not know the person, but they've got an interest that you share. Yeah,
and that's why you don't sit in the away end, when you support the other team.
No, it's a good point,
because you're just going to get in conflict straight away.
You ain't got nothing in common, but...
so you can go there, and it's why why pubs were so massive, because everyone goes to a pub.
I was just going to ask, is a pub a congregation?
Yeah, it is. It's a congregation, but unfortunately, they worship alcohol, some of them.
Yeah.
But you can still go to a pub and get a soft drink or whatever. But if you're going to a pub and the pastor's the barmaid or the barman or the landlord of the pub,
the beer's the holy water, right?
The beer's the holy water, and your whole aim is to get smashed.
Yeah,
you got to be careful in those environments. You got to tread carefully. Absolutely. But at the same time,
they say what you were saying about spelling and spells.
Alcohol and all that. Yeah, and that it's like the alcohol of Arabic and all that. But
there you go.
It is what it is. But at the same time, look, some people out there, they ain't like me. Like, they can have a social drink and they're sweet. Some people are like me. I can't have one. One's too many. 1,000 ain't enough. I'm there dancing on tables, doing crazy stuff, and it's just not necessary at the moment in time.
Well, and that's an interesting one, because I think this dichotomy. So you're since the changes you've gone through and being a dad, have become the best version you can be on one hand.
Trying to be,
that's what I mean. You're trying
to... Of course.
We can all
but I'm the best version I could be.
No, I'm saying the intent of that.
The intention is pure,
Christ consciousness, you want to do the best you can. You're never ever going to be perfect, of course. But do you, and not wanting to be a role model at the same time, what responsibility, if any, do you consider that people with your profile or ability or talent, do you have a responsibility, do you think, to communities, to the wider public, to tell the truth? Do you think you have that, or do you not have that?
Yeah, well, I have a responsibility to myself.
If you're not a role model.
I have a responsibility to myself to represent myself the best I can.
Yeah, okay.
But like I said earlier, if you can't learn from the good stuff I say, and I'm saying all bad stuff, well, then learn from that as well. Do you know what I mean? There's always, there's always an opportunity to learn. Yeah. Even if I go out and cause chaos and I'm the front page of the Sun newspaper tomorrow for smashing up something or doing something mental, we'll learn from that as well.
Absolutely.
You don't do that.
It's all experience.
It's all an experience. So if we're going down that that path, if we're looking at it like that, so it's all in the perception of what's going on. But I do want to conduct myself gracefully, peacefully, caring, loving, all that good stuff.
And that, if I may say so, that's apparent. I don't think they're just words. I think you embody that.
100%.
But what I mean is, that's something a lot of people would be happy to say and share on a camera or on a recording, but I think you embody it.
Look, so you get rewarded in public for things that you practice in private. So
I like that.
That is the truth.
I haven't heard that.
So you get rewarded in public for things you practice in private. So if in private you are spending time maybe with your higher power, or you're practicing, you're writing your poems, your craft, you're learning. It's like those poems that I performed on Britain's Got Talent. I had to spend so many hours, just me, the page, the pen, rehearsing, going over it, privately, man. No one was clapping for me then.
And you self-published it. So what gave you the motivation or the urge to, or comfort, whatever you want to call that, to go out, commit to paper, not just for yourself, for your existing audience or troubled tongues, whatever you were doing, but actually go and take the leap and make that a self-published work that you sell on the biggest shop in the world?
That was just because it was quicker. It was DIY. I didn't have no one having to tell me that
gatekeepers, no gatekeepers, no publishers.
Wow, no gatekeepers, man. Yeah. And we live in 2026 where we can do that now.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Well, that's what this whole podcast is about.
But when I was in year 10 or 11, I self-published my first CD and albums and stuff.
But yeah,
whether it's Hippo Politics and When Words Found Music Speaks.
Words Found Music Speaks.
Yeah, and I called up my mate and we printed off 1,000 of them. I think it was for a certain amount of money. And then I went out and I sold them. So it's always been in my nature that do-it-yourself, DIY attitude is always something that I've always wanted to do. Don't rely on others, because guess what? They're not always there to help you.
Oh, God.
And, and my mum instilled that from me from a young age. And so did my dad, because my dad was like, you're going to have to do this yourself, mate.
Yeah, good.
Do you know what I mean? I'm doing my thing.
Something else I've learned along those lines is that some people are so poor, the only thing they have is money.
Yeah. So
I've learned that.
Yeah, and some of these people got millions of pounds. They can't get a CD out. They can't get a book out.
Yeah, I see.
And you've got millions of pounds. Well, where's your book?
Well, talking about those millions, I mean, a lot of artists, for me, not just music, actors, poetry. My brother is a published poet. He does very well, and he's a bit of a name. My brother-in-law, who married my sister. I'm asking because how do you balance personal ambition and the integrity that you speak of, or trying to be the best version of yourself? How do you balance that with not selling out or forwarding the goals commercially that you have? Because obviously, if you release, let's say you release an album in future, you're going to want that to do really, 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 really well.
Yeah,
and how do you not sell out, but at the same time,
as long as your integrity is all right, you're cool, man. Don't worry about it.
So it's all about personal integrity.
Don't worry about it. Yeah, and look, at the end of the day, like I say, for me, I have a higher power. I love Jesus. Yeah, that's my connection to God. That's my relationship with God is between me and Him. And there ain't a preacher, pastor, evangelist, other people who can't tell me. So yeah, we're all sinners. We all fall short. Sometimes I make mistakes. Sometimes I might be able to sell out, whatever, maybe. Which
as long as you don't consider,
I don't think I have.
Yeah.
So others might say I have, but that's between me and God, right?
Yeah.
There are. Do you know what I mean?
It's on you. It's what you believe is.
It's on me.
Yeah.
And that's my personal choice.
That's a lovely way of looking at it, because then, if it wasn't, how could you take responsibility for other people's perception of you?
Yeah. You can't.
Absolutely.
So you can't, right? And as long as your integrity is intact, because, for instance, people don't necessarily know what the whole story. They might just see the headline or the picture but they don't necessarily know the truth behind that. Do you know what I mean?
Makes sense. Of course, the context.
And a lot of it could be like brand deals or situations and stuff you've done. Do you understand? So
yeah,
it's
of course
like,
I do.
As long as and sometimes you don't even know, by the way, sometimes you don't even know the effects of your actions when you're doing it.
Yeah, good point. You don't know how it's going to land.
That's the issue.
Yeah.
Like and they might go,
That's
bang,
a very good
right,
point.
Sonny, we're going to give you $100,000 to do this ad for that person, for these people.
I saw you pop up in a Sky ad last night, actually.
So it's like,
I was like, hold on a minute.
And I'm playing a football fan.
Yeah, that's right. It's black and white. I saw it last night.
And it's an amazing advert, and Elliot Power directed it, and it's brilliant, and it's for Sky Bet, okay? So some people will be like, well, how can you be a Christian and it's a gambling advert? And I'm like, I
don't believe gambling is against Christianity in the way it is Islam, is it?
In scripture, there's nothing but
That's what I mean. I don't think it's
see what I'm saying. So it's like I had to speak to people about that. I seeked wise counsel.
Did you?
Yeah, bruv. And it was like one of them where it was like, well, how does that sit with me? I've got some friends that, and check out gambling awareness. And on the ad, there's like gambling awareness that comes up and stuff like that. But I'm playing a football fan, man, celebrating football.
Yeah, you're not paying a church going, you're an actor at the end of the day,
but also I'm not telling people to, do you know what I mean? I'm an actor in an ad, and there's going to be another actor in the ad if I don't get the part. And in fact, I beat thousands of people to get that part, right? And to achieve that situation. So, and it's the story about it. And I feel like if God didn't want me to do that and have that opportunity, then I wouldn't have got given the part.
Yeah, of course.
So, and at the same time, gamble aware, innit? Don't just go and if you're doing all your money on that, you've got a problem, mate. You need to find some help, get to a meeting called Gamble Awareness, like, you know. But if you're putting £1 on an accumulator that might win you 200 grand, yeah, and some people do actually win by putting £1 on this, like, you know.
I know someone personally won £31,000 on a fiver.
But by putting a fiver on and a quid, I mean, I'm not really sure what harm that is. If you spend $2.99 on, I don't know, some fast food burger, you're probably doing more harm eating that burger to yourself than you are putting £1 or £2, you know. So that's the way, sense. You know. But look, anyone can justify anything, right? So, but if you're doing 10 grand and that's your last money you've got an issue, man, and it's a problem, okay? So, you know,
it's similar to the argument of prostitution. How is being a prostitute selling your body, but working 15 hours in a warehouse for minimum wage is not?
I mean, you know, sexual immorality.
Well, of course, I'm not saying I believe that. I'm saying I've read that, and I think, well, everyone's selling your body.
I mean, look, what's the difference between OnlyFans and doing whatever in private, where you know?
Well, that's my point. So there's David Beckham famously said when he was ranting and angry when Brooklyn was born, he famously said, "I've got stalkers out camping outside my house, but the problem is they've got a camera in their hand, so they're called a photographer or a journalist." And he hit the nail on the head perfectly. And it's the same talking about sexual morality. I mean, you're not allowed to have sex until you're 16 in the UK, but at 18, if you set a camera up, then
you can do what
exactly. If there's a camera there,
you can become a multi.
That's my point. There's a strange dichotomy in that morality,
and that's the thing where we live in a world now where that's why it's really important to protect the family and what that looks like, and see yourself.
Do you believe the destruction of the family unit has been intentional? Bigger divorce rates, people having less children.
Yeah, it's been intentional.
The devising
by the devil,
families. I
for sure.
Agree.
Satan's used destroying a family for his wicked agenda because he wants you single, he wants you alone, he wants you by yourself, he wants you masturbating. That's where the devil wants you, man.
Yeah,
the devil doesn't want you making love to your wife to have children and procreate.
Yeah,
that's what God wants you to do.
Absolutely. That's my point. So
do you know what I mean?
So you don't think, as I don't, you don't believe it's a coincidence that these times that we're in.
Nothing ever is a coincidence. Everyone's got an agenda. They just don't always know what it is.
Yeah, they're not always conscious of it.
They're just not always conscious of it. Good but point. Everyone's got an agenda.
And over time, you mentioned that you used to be an angry young man. I think you called yourself earlier. Has your identity as an artist, do you think, or your voice changed or evolved with your age and experience? Or what is something that or a belief that you used to hold quite strongly that you don't now? Have you noticed any kind of change in that evolution?
I think it changes and evolves every day.
Really?
Every single day.
So you think in 5 years you might think differently to how you do now?
Well, I hope so. Otherwise I ain't learnt nothing in 5 years.
Well, that's what they say, don't they?
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if I haven't changed, then there's an issue.
Yeah.
Like, you know, depending on how I've changed, but hopefully I've changed for the better. So, you know, some of my friends who I grew up with are in prison. They are dead. They are struggling. They are Some of them are doing better than me, you know. Some of them have gone on and had great lives. Some of them have travelled the whole world. Some of them are in a beach in Australia. Some of them are in Chelmsford prison. It's like they've changed as well.
Yeah, of course.
You know, it depends how you want to look at it. But in the next 5 years, I hope there is an incredible amount of change. But I hope that my integrity and my like, you know, overall kind of my overall morality and my general sense of what I think's good stays the same to a certain extent.
Your core values.
My core values remain the same. And I think they probably always have been pretty similar, because even when I was doing bad stuff, whatever that may have been, you know, committing petty crimes or whatever it may have been, I always felt that what I was doing was wrong when I was doing those
You knew right from wrong, didn't you?
I always knew right from wrong, man. And I think there's probably some psychopaths out there that don't actually think what they're doing is wrong. Yeah, but from the
lack of empathy.
From the most part, most people who I know who some of them have been proper criminals and dangerous people, a lot of them have still got loads of morals and great empathy.
You raise a really good point. On that note, and the reason why that's a really good point to kind of delve a tiny bit deeper into it, you mentioned earlier that part of the reason for your, whether you call it reverting to God or your discovery and wanting to be the best version of yourself that you can be in line with Christ and his teachings, came at the time where you became a father.
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe, obviously we'll never know, but do you believe had you not become a father that change would have happened?
I don't think it would have happened as fast. You know what I mean? I think.
Do you think it would in the end?
Hopefully. I mean, I think that I would have felt that responsibility at some point to do something greater than what I was doing. And, you know, I hope, that I would have just matured. I think it just matured me. When you have children, I think that you do mature and it made me respect my parents more, weirdly enough.
Everybody says that. I'm not a parent.
Yeah. It just made me respect them more. I just thought, wow.
Kind of understand.
Yeah, you actually was under a lot of pressure and stress that I took for granted. And I didn't realize that you was under that stress and pressure and that I just by default added to it.
Without even meaning
to, man, which was deep.
But then I used to say, I was very cognizant of that in my parents' later years, but they did choose to have you.
That's what I always say. I always used to say that. I always used to say that to my mum all the time. And it was so harsh. Like, do you know what I mean? I was always like, Mum, I didn't ask to be here, did I? Like,
I said that all the time to mine.
Which is like out of order.
I said that all the time.
Do you know what I mean? It's so out of order.
I was 9 of 10. So I said to my mum and dad, what were you doing?
Yeah, well,
you already had 8. What was you doing?
That is crazy, yeah. But for me, I was just like the only son. Like I had my sister 7 years older than me. And it was like, I could kind of see why, you know what I mean? So, but at the same time, you know, it's to a certain extent, you should be in a good position or try to be in the best position to have children, right? So, on all accounts, I was a bit of not an accident, but I think my dad had freshly come out of prison or something like that, and he was.
I was told I was an accident.
Yeah. I
was told I was.
I definitely wasn't planned.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, but like we say, I don't believe in coincidence, and my mum would hate to say I was an accident, right? So, but at the same time, I wasn't a planned baby in a perfect situation.
Yeah, I get you.
So I had all right to say, Mum, come on, Matt.
Oh, that's why I felt like I did. That's why I felt like I did. I was made clear to me I was an accident. So I thought,
which is tough. It's actually tough to take that. Do you know what I mean?
I know what you mean so much that it's not the point of this podcast or conversation, but it affected me so much that because we didn't have any money, I decided in that moment right now I was going to justify the fact I was here.
Hallelujah.
That's why everything that's come since then has happened, from the business to what I do to this podcast to everything.
At some point you felt worthless and that you didn't deserve to be here.
Yeah, I needed to have my worth. I needed to create it.
And you needed to create
You're not wrong. I remember that feeling. I remember that edge going, oh, fuck. Like, excuse my French.
Yeah, but that's amazing, man. Yeah. And that's important because guess what? You are so important. And we are like grains of sand, like tiny little grains of sand. Like we mean that, like, see this little speck on this pillow? Yeah. We mean that much to God. But we also mean bloody everything at the same time.
Yeah.
Because you are, you're formed in his image. And, you feel and you are so important. But also at the same time.
I still struggle with that now, that idea,
Yeah, but at the same time, you're also, and this is humbling, in the grand scheme of things, pretty insignificant.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, totally.
So this is like the weird upside down.
The dichotomy.
The dichotomy of it is that you are everything because only you can see through your eyes. So
you also have God in you, but we worship a God.
So it's like, or that tiny, and you're made in his image and all that. And you're that tiny little speck. But so it's just valuing that up. But other people might see you as worthless, but the creator of all things doesn't. And that's the main thing, that your identity is not in your mum and dad or in Arsenal.
My mum and dad were amazing.
Yeah. I'm just saying.
I know, but they're not the ones that said to me, you were an accident. You've got to do this.
Yeah.
It was just made clear to me that was all.
So, but the thing is, it's impossible for you to be an accident. See what I'm saying? Because
that's a great way of looking at it, actually. There were no accidents.
Yeah, there's no accidents, just as there's no coincidences, right? So it's impossible for us to not be, this was designed by something greater than us. Yeah, for us to be here having this conversation. And that's the amazing thing. So there's no reason for anyone watching, listening, or for us ourselves to feel worthless ever again. Because we are not worthless.
That's beautiful.
So never,
the fact we exist means
so never ever feel like that, ever.
Yeah,
like that is devil lying to you again.
Yeah.
Because the truth is, you mean something, you're important, we need you here, you need to be here and right now. This is what it's all about.
Yeah, that's a beautiful idea. There's no yesterday, there's no tomorrow, there's only right now.
It's right now. So don't do nothing stupid, like, you know, don't ever feel so worthless that you should take your own life or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, because it's a lie.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I say that about fear.
And for those that have been affected by that stuff and all that, you know, my heart goes out to you and everything. And I love you all so much. But if you're one of my brothers or one of my sisters or you're one of my people out there that are listening and you know what, you know, you're feeling on the brink of like, mate, it's better off that I'm not in this planet, then just forget all of that. Because that is rubbish. We need you about, man. It's not over yet. You've got a job to do. There's work to be done. You know, we need your help, mate. There's stuff to be done here, and you can impact.
I love that, you know, because I think
you have worth.
I think by the time I was going to say man because I'm a man. I can't speak for women, but I think anyone by the age of 40 to 50 at some point in their lives would have felt like that at least
100%,
once. So that's
man.
an incredibly important message.
Yes.
Not just now, but for audiences.
Especially when you're on a destructive path. I've been on destructive paths in my life where I thought, you know what, I'm doing more harm than good around here.
And you've been conscious of that at the time?
Well, I've been told that at the time.
Yeah, you took it in or not.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's like I've been told that at the time. And I think a lot of people definitely feel like that when they're within institutions, whether it be, you know, prison or mental health hospitals and stuff like that, and they feel like they're the problem and not the solution. But actually, a lot of these people are the solution and not the problem.
Without them
even knowing.
That's beautiful. So bringing it up to where we are now and the insanity we've spoken about of the last 8 to 10 years, whether doesn't matter your opinion, but we've had world-changing events. I mean, like I mentioned, Panama Papers didn't do anything, blew my mind.
I mean, there's
Epstein
changing events happening.
I was just going to say, and consider
right now,
I was just going to give a background.
I was reading about World War III, like this, it is popping up on like a big mainstream news article.
I now understand it.
This is World War III. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
Who knows? During our phones have been off in aeroplane mode right now. We don't know what
an air raid sign went off in Birkenheath.
Do you know what I mean? Anything could have happened
an hour before this.
Right now. Do you know what I mean?
Well, the reason I'm asking all that is that I was going to give a background. You're well up on it. You understand that we've had a crazy point in history of the last kind of decade. We've had COVID, Epstein, complete collapse in the trust of mainstream media.
You name it, it's happened, mate.
Exactly. So the question I'm trying to ask, this is a weird time in history for anyone, let alone those that
someone says the end times.
Well,
yeah.
Are we in a phase? My question to you is on that. Are we in a phase, in your opinion? We could be right, we could be wrong, who knows? Your opinion. You're an artist, right? Are we in a phase of collapse, renaissance, transformation, growth, or the end? Like, how do you see it?
Wow. I think I'll be honest, we're pretty much in all of those things you listed.
At the same time?
At the same time.
Wow. That's not problematic or confusion at all, is it, Sonny?
So, and I want to just be in the Renaissance period of all of that.
Yeah.
Just because it sounds like a poetic.
Well, but
just because it sounds good.
But you're having one.
Yeah, exactly. And personally, right now, I'm having a renaissance, and there's a revival of some degree, whether that be within spoken word or within faith or within the working class grit of our beautiful country that I call England, that was formerly known as the Albion. But there's a renaissance happening.
That's how I got into Albion.
Yeah. So there's a renaissance happening within this beautiful island that we call England, formerly known as the Albion, with working class communities that are changing the direction of our society, of our planet, through what we're creating, through what we're saying, through how we're loving each other. And it is happening right here, right now. Be prepared or be scared, because things are happening.
That's incredibly positive.
Times are going to change.
This isn't a question on here, but from that, you're seeing where we're going as a country in a positive direction. You don't think that we're...
I hope so, but maybe because
that's the positive attitude.
I want to be, and I feel like I'm a part of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and you know, in my little corner,
wouldn't be charting.
Yeah. In my little corner, and with what I'm doing, it within the arts and the mainstream and everything, I'm trying to represent, and I am representing the goodness of what we're about, because there's a lot of other people there's some other people that are representing maybe the bad parts of the working class communities of England, and I hope to represent the good bits.
Amen to that. You have. I'm just coming to the last few of these, and what I find really interesting is that you have an incredibly deep backlog of not just material, or back catalogue, I should say, of not just material that you've rapped about, but ideas. Not just in rap or grime, but also in spoken word. Looking forward and in a more positive energy, what excites you most about the next chapter of your work? Following all this activity, Renaissance stuff, like what are you looking forward to, and what excites you most about it?
I'm looking forward to going on and doing documentaries about stuff. I really want to create some amazing films about...
As an actor,
as a presenter, as a documentary maker, as a producer.
Right.
As those kind of... And I want to get, other people involved. Obviously, we've got Cash in Hand, which is an amazing TV comedy drama, which is fun.
I can't wait to see that.
But that's different. It's a different vibe in terms of it's fun and it is light-hearted and it's light. But it is sometimes what we need, and sometimes my poetry is so heavy.
Oh, absolutely.
That for me, that light escape.
No, you need both.
You need both. My market trader
Look at the best meals.
Yeah,
both.
And my steptime mum stuff is that as well. So similar, that lightness. But then I really want to delve deep, and I want to do some. And I need help with this, by the way, because I haven't gone on this journey yet. But I really want to go on and do some documented film stuff about what England means to me, about the real side of England.
A film accompaniment to that book would actually, I think you'd have people queuing up to fund.
And I'm talking about stories, like some of the stories I have with my friends who are from immigrant backgrounds that I grew up with, that basically, so I've got some friends that have done really well. Some of them from, for instance, my mate Zulu, right? I've done a song with him years ago, and he was rapping about being an Essex boy, but he's from South Africa, and in that time he was kind of fresh into the country, or been here a few years or whatever, right? But he's gone on and he's got a barber shop and he's doing really well. But if he goes back to South Africa, he's an Essex boy, but in Essex, he's a South African geezer.
So he's not native anywhere,
and he's also
really. He's in between.
and he's also he's a very successful person in the UK who gives so much to our society, to our economy.
How does he see himself then? Because that surely
I want to have that conversation with him, because I don't even know. So, but that is a whole documentary, and what I would love to do is I'd love to go to South Africa with him and experience his culture and his, from that side of the story, and see how I, and how I, and just that, and that's just one of many, because
what England means to you from South Africa,
well, and also what England means to him and what it means to me, because obviously that What England Means to Me poem is about the beauty of some of the diversity and some of the culture, and also some of the real England in terms of an Englishman, as in it's Sweet Caroline on the terraces, it's Bob Marley and reggae, it's Oasis and karaoke, it's all of that as well. So, but also delve into some of the different kind of cultures that are within Southend and my areas and the areas that I've lived in, and go on the journey through some of my friends' eyes.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
So we'll go there. So if we can go South Africa, then maybe I can go to Bangladesh with my Bengali mates and Bethnal Green, and maybe I can go to Zimbabwe, Jamaica, Ghana. I've travelled a bit. I mean, I've been to New York, I've been to the Caribbean, I've been all around Europe. You know what I mean? I've travelled enough to say I've travelled a bit. But mate, in one of my latest poems, I say something about the world is your oyster, so give it a crack.
That's your dad one.
Crack it open, and I hope you find pearls, my boy, of wisdom and of joy, because the world is your oyster, right? And I think that's actually, that might be a Shakespeare line as well, believe it or not.
That should be a point.
Delve into it, right? So, but basically, go out there and go to all these. I think, for me personally, I think one of my bucket list and one of my things that I want to do is, I want to say before I die that I've been to every single country in the world. Why not? Why not? We live in a society where you can do that now. It's 2026. You can travel pretty much every country in the world. Yeah. Some of them are probably sketchy.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
But if you got the finances, and let's be honest, it's not a huge amount, if you're willing to live on a budget and you don't mind, roughing it a little bit.
Just wrapping up, before we do the big questions, which there are only 3, don't worry. Can you give listeners, because you've spoken a lot, and I would completely am on board and agree with it, about higher ideals across religion, spirituality, fatherhood, having a voice, artistry, entrepreneurship. Can you give listeners a tangible exercise or shift in perspective that they might be able to, because they say they land more when you discover it yourself and you feel it yourself rather than being told it. Can you give listeners a tangible exercise or shift in perspective that may help them question their assumptions about their own reality and maybe help you see a different viewpoint?
So for the next 30 days, and I'll do it as well.
Yeah, next month.
Next 30 days, just write a gratitude list, 10 things you're grateful for when you wake up, and send it to someone else.
Nice. I like
and
that.
Get them to send it back to you. And that's it's practical, right?
I have heard that. I've heard that does create a shift in perspective.
Just see what happens. Don't even think about it, just do it. And then see what happens. And if you're doing it already, well done. And if you ain't done it, just do it and just see what happens.
Well, I make sure to be grateful in my communication, but I don't make the list that I should. I'll
do
try
the
that
list,
myself.
man. Just write it down and see if that. And then if you can say it when you're writing it, which you do probably subconsciously anyway. And
that's why I try and do it. I try and be vocal about my gratitude.
And then just see if it affects your atoms and molecules inside your body.
I like it. We should all do that. Right. Lastly, to wrap up, we ask all guests the same 3 questions at the end. We call them the big questions. So I'm warning you because they're big questions.
Yeah.
So answer it how you want. There's no right or wrong. They're big questions, right? Who or what do you believe, if anything, controls our world?
So I believe God has authority over everything, but that the enemy is like the devil is controlling like society in the world as we know it to a certain extent. But God still's got
who's the greatest
authority.
Influential force then in that? If there's 2 opposing forces, who is having the control?
Yeah,
or is it a combination of both?
Well, I know that like in the end it will all make sense, and I think we answer to the Creator, and I do believe in happy endings. So I think that in the end we'll see that good will prevail.
I love that.
I hope so. That's my faith.
I should have asked you that last because that would have been an amazing way to win. But do you believe in free will?
100%. 100%. Free will is free will. And it's something as well that we should always, that is really important. And as a Christian person or as a religious person, as any free will is like the ultimate thing, because that's why we have a choice. Well, that's why good and bad things happen in this world as well, by the way, because we have free will. We have the freedom to choose, and we should always have the freedom to choose.
The reason I ask you is, how do you balance that idea, which I agree with? How do you balance that idea of free will with what you said earlier about being under the influence of different forces, whether demonic or
that's
angelic?
The freedom, innit? So the freedom in that is that you can choose to follow good or follow evil.
Oh, so what you're saying is they both influence you, and it's what you choose to follow is your free will.
You've got the freedom, brother.
Okay.
And the freedom to choose is up to you. And that's why I don't believe in dictatorships or even ramming stuff down people's throats. It's like, if you want to listen. If you don't. Do you know what I mean? Don't force people to believe your beliefs.
Absolutely.
That's rubbish.
That's why I asked about the shift of perspective.
Yeah. Like, that's hot.
It's much
bad.
more meaningful from within.
Yeah, like,
definitely.
That's the free will. And that's why I believe we're created to have free will as well.
I get that. Sonny, what is the meaning of life?
To live it. Otherwise, there is no life. So the meaning of life is to just live, and to live it and to experience it for all those different kind of perspectives and what that is. And that's why we should also just live in the moment and be alive for it. And that's the meaning, is to capture that present moment.
Yeah, being present.
And be kind of ready for it and to make the most out of it, man. And the meaning of my life now is to help guide my sons into adulthood so that they can go and do whatever they got to do out in this.
Find their meaning.
Right?
Yeah.
And then also the meaning is to finish this podcast, because we've been going on. If you've made it to the end, amazing.
We have. Last call.
And then the meaning is to get home safe, and then the meaning is to have dinner, and then the meaning is to go to sleep, and then the meaning is to make sure before I go to sleep that I tell my wife I love her and my sons I love them.
And that's the present, right?
And that's the meaning. That every right now, this means a lot to me. Do you know what I mean?
I love that.
And that is the meaning.
Oh, I love that.
Is to not lose the meaning of the small things.
Yeah, because it comes with a day,
in life.
New day. Yeah, gotcha. Sonny, thank you.
Thank you, brother.
This has been a massive pleasure, and I can't wait to see what's next, and we'll definitely be tuning in for the lives on Britain's Got Talent.
Greg, thank you so much. Big up, bro.
Thank you.
Much love, bro.
Guys, you can buy What England Means to Me now, a truly incredible collection of poems and spoken word from Sonny, currently charting on Amazon, on sale now. Thank you very much for your time, for listening and watching. That's us.
Ta-ta for now.